There's so much to be despondent about in the North East, but events like this give us hope and inspire us to continue fighting this appalling government. I want to start by thanking everyone that sent me public and private messages of solidarity, including the support from my comrades in the SCG like Zara Sultana and Ian Lavery. Following the homophobic abuse and my court case in the summer, you might have seen the BBC covered this yesterday and today, and I spoke to them about the abuse that I receive online and in person. Giving evidence as a victim of harassment and abuse in court is never easy, but thankfully the court found my harasser guilty. Of abuse, racist, sexist and homophobic attacks, flamed by politicians from Suella Braverman talking about an invasion of people, James Cleverly talking about, it's not very clever, talking about LGBTQ plus people hiding their sexual orientation, to Gavin Williamson finally resigning over his sexist, inappropriate bullying messages. Sunak has mentioned Jeremy Corbyn and each of his PMQs so far. He has no answers apart from to whip up hate and demonise Jeremy. We see the media referring to Jeremy as a commie, and this filters down. There's a poster campaign of hate against me in my constituency at the moment, a regular occurrence that I'm called commie scum with...
Commie's not an insult!
with graffiti outside my office, and the likes of the Daily Mail and the Sun feed this intolerance and disgraceful behaviour. The Sun even tried to doorstep me on my way into court when I was given evidence. So in both of my interviews with the BBC this week, I mentioned that it's Diane Abbott that gets the most abuse. Black women are more likely to receive abuse online and in person, and women are more likely to receive abuse than men. Yet after my interviews, the BBC released their analysis that the top 10 politicians that face abuse were mostly men. Boris Johnson receiving the most abuse and Ben Bradley in the top 10. Straight away, when you look at their list of top 10 and you think, hold on a minute, where are the BAME MPs? There was one in the top 10. According to the BBC's analysis, men came out top, and as I say, BAME women just didn't feature at all. And when you look at what the BBC decided as what counted as abuse, it was words on social media, including liar, hypocrite, disgrace, Tory. Well, I'll tell you, if someone called me a Tory, I'd find it bloody insulting. Defined as unreasonable or rude. This is beyond helpful from the BBC. None of these words in isolation constitute abuse. It isn't toxic to say that Boris Johnson is a liar, but it's been proven to have lied time and time again. It isn't toxic to say Ben Bradley is a disgrace for the abuse he dished out to Jeremy Corbyn, abuse that a judge made him apologise for. It isn't toxic to point out when MPs are being hypocritical. This conflates democratic accountability with abuse. But let's look at the language the BBC algorithm didn't think were toxic. Racial slurs, transphobic slurs, none of those counted. But tweets complaining that the MP has been transphobic or racist, they count. The BBC's analysis is flawed and is being used to downplay the abuse targeted at women and other minority groups. Their findings that white men receive the most abuse is completely unreliable and obviously incorrect. I do not want abuse I received, and the guilty verdict from my harassment case used to give credibility to this flawed analysis. It's clear to me that the Tories are whipping up this hysteria around identity and culture, the hostile environment, the war to promote, and abuse to distract from their own failings. And the BBC are giving them so-called evidence to help them with this. The language of politics is feeding people's hate. People are already hungry and desperate and angry, and when you're cold and you're hungry, you need support, not to be driven further into blaming others, whether or not that's refugees or asylum seekers or even women. We need to be clear that all abuse is unacceptable, and the abuse mainly women receive is an attempt to silence us, to drive us out of the political arena. But I will not be silenced. I've made it clear that I will continue to speak out on behalf of my constituents, our community, on behalf of women, on behalf of our LGBTQ+ people and communities, but I will hold the Tories to account for the lies, incompetence, hypocrisy and destruction of our communities too. Which brings me on to the current misery facing our communities and why we are here to say enough is enough. The government will unveil its new budget, which is expected to include massive public spending cuts. This plus his disastrous 44-day term as Prime Minister leaves Sunak with a £40 billion black hole, and he wants you to pay the price. Their damaging programme of austerity has left our public services in disarray. In 2010, David Cameron proclaimed that we're all in this together. This time, Sunak is talking about tough choices we all have to face together. But we know that we're not all in this together. It isn't the Tories that suffer from the impact of their decisions, it's our communities. It's not the Prime Minister, who's twice as rich as the King, who is having to make choices. It is the people, it is our communities that suffer from the impact of their decisions. The legacy of a decade of Tory cuts can be seen across our region. Inequalities in our country are higher than ever. The gap between rich and poor, the north and the south divide, health inequalities, all growing. The rich getting richer and big business making obscene profits whilst our kids go hungry. And we all talk about the horrific statistics of millions in poverty. 39% of kids in the North East are living in food poverty.
Disgusting!
It is disgusting. And we must not forget that behind each statistic lies the face of a child, a nurse, a teacher, a bus driver, a care worker. Today I carried out my monthly surgery at Heaven Helps Food Bank in my constituency, and I spoke to a family who used to donate to the food bank. They're now reliant on their services. They both work, but they've had to give up their car. They're at risk of losing their house, They've had to turn the heating down. A 73-year-old woman, Kathleen from Wardley, emailed me to say she's cut back on heating, she's cut back on food, she doesn't know what else to do. I'm inundated with messages from people in my constituency who are struggling to cope. They need to be given hope, they need answers, and we need to be the people that provide them. It is our movement that will ensure that this government falls. It is our movement that will demand investment, not cuts, from these Tories and from the incoming Labour government, whenever the next general election is. This week, the RCN have voted to take strike action. 300,000 nurses joining the list of public service workers taking action to say enough is enough. Including nurses here in the North East from Newcastle Hospitals, Gateshead and Northumbria NHS Foundation Trust, and always, as always, I will be joining them all on the picket line. Nurses, firefighters, paramedics, postal workers, civil servants, lecturers, call centre workers, all those demanding a pay rise and defending their rights. And we will make sure they win, and we will ensure that Labour supports their fights and repeal the anti-trade union laws. And it's our movement that will save the NHS. The National Health Service that is no longer national. The Tories have smashed it into 42 different pieces. We will revive it, we will put it back together, and we will deal with the mess that the Tories have caused. We must commit to restoring the NHS to a service free from private providers, cherry-picking services for profit. And it's our movement, MPs, trade unions, workers and communities united that will win. All of us together demanding enough is enough. And our movement that shows solidarity with all of our campaigns, and our movement that demands Labour, when in government, deliver a transformed society. I look forward to fighting alongside you all, seeing you on the picket line. Solidarity, and thank you.